my name's Becky Jerams, and I am the co-author of The Songs You've Never Heard. I wrote it with my friend Ellie, and the book is about a teenage girl. She's 17, called Meg. Her sorry, let me start that again. Her brother Casper is a pop star, and she has always lived her life very much in his shadow and in the shadow of his fame, but she herself is also a songwriter. But because of her brother and the way her family treats her brother, because the whole family kind of revolves around Casper, she's always been a bit shy and hesitant to actually share her own songwriting talent with the world, and that is until she starts a summer job at a frozen yogurt shop in Brighton called Dodo Yo-Yo, where they'll have to wear beak hats. And she meets a girl called Alana, who is also a singer-songwriter, and it's the first time she's met somebody who's actually interested in her rather than just her in relation to her brother, and the two of them form a friendship and start to build some musical connections together, and then more adventure ensues.
Definitely. I really liked at the beginning, you kind of got the sense that it was all like, even from the first chapters, that Casper's a very like overwhelming presence in her life, even from people she doesn't know knowing her because of him and coming up to her, and it always kind of the stress that comes from that, like, you're only really talking to me because of my brother, like, is a really interesting thing that's like comes up quite early in the book.
Yeah.
How did it feel exploring those kind of like emotions? Was it something that you found quite easy to kind of delve into, or was
Yes,
it something that was harder to pin down?
I think, I mean, I don't have any famous celebrity sibling of any description, so obviously it wasn't written from real life experience. But I think in the music world, so Ellie and I are both songwriters. We've both been in the music industry. We've written songs for other people. We wanted to bring a lot of our real life experience to the book. And it's a very competitive industry. It can be very hard sometimes to feel like you're standing out, and, you know, especially if you know people who've done really cool, exciting things or had big song cuts. Sometimes you can feel a little bit like, oh no, I hope everyone's noticing my songs. And it's kind of human nature to compare yourself to everyone around you. So I guess to tap into that emotion of that comparison and that judging yourself next to someone else who's really amazing, I think anyone creative can kind of maybe tap into that sometimes. So yeah, that was kind of the emotion we were trying to capture there.
Definitely. I do design work, so it's definitely emotion I am like aware of, and try not to put focus too much on comparing, but it
Yeah.
is really difficult. So obviously you wrote this book as a collaboration. What was that experience like? Was it difficult? Did you both agree with things and how they should go, or was there a little bit of not fighting, but you know, like disagreement on certain things?
There definitely was when it came to the top 5 songs. So there's a game that Meg and Matty, who is her secret crush and love interest, play over the internet, where they pick top 5 songs to do with certain categories. So us trying to pick these songs, we were just in battle from day one until like probably about the day before it printed, as to what these songs would be. And I think we kind of agreed we'd have like 2 choices each, and then one that we both agreed on. So that was quite funny. And yeah, there was definitely moments where maybe one of us saw it one way or one of us saw it another way. But I think like the beauty of having 2 people and 2 pairs of eyes is that ability to kind of bounce back and forward. And I think having those 2 perspectives, even though we didn't always see a scene the same way, just being able to bounce back and forward made it a stronger scene in the end.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think especially with creative things, it can be a quite solitary it's a solitary process a lot of the time when you are a creative, whether you're writing or designing or something. So it's always interesting to see how collaborations kind of play out, and how you can take something that is in your head and work on another person with it, and
Yeah.
take what's in their head. So I suppose I'd love to know a little bit behind the book, as in the inspiration that you both had to kind of write this. I'm sorry, I'm getting obsessed with the cover. Look at it. Sorry.
The cover is so gorgeous. We were so lucky with the illustrator. She just absolutely like brought the characters and the setting to life. We were just so happy with the cover.
It's beautiful.
And yeah, in terms of the inspiration, so yeah, both Ellie and I are songwriters. So one thing about the songs you've never heard is that the songs which the girls write in the book are real life songs that we have written as well, that you can listen to on Spotify whilst you're reading the book. So hopefully it will like bring the songs and the story to life. So because we're songwriters and we write for a lot of different projects, we really wanted to kind of create our own pop stars and our own characters where we could, you know, bring our own songwriting and kind of, because with songwriting you write a lot of songs and pitch them out, and of all of the songs that you write, maybe like a small percentage might see the light of day, and there's so many great songs that don't get heard. So we kind of wanted to have a project where we'd be able to like share some of the songs that we've written and write some new stuff. And in terms of the storyline, we really wanted to reflect some of our experiences of being female songwriters in the industry. We felt like a lot of books like aimed at YA audience are very much like, oh, it's X Factor and you have one obstacle and then you overcome it and you win everything and you're super famous and it's all lovely, happy ever after the end. And we wanted something that felt more realistic, because for most musicians we know it's just constant up and downs, and you might have a great year and then a year where there's not much work going on, and you know, it's very much like nothing that has like a clear beginning and an end. It's just like a journey, and we wanted this to feel like we're on the start of the journey with these girls, but it's not that overnight instant success X Factor moment. It's a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times in books, even when they're not musical based or a music career focused on, it does seem like you've got that kind of like one moment that once you've done that one thing, everything is like plain sailing from there. Like you've done the one thing and now everything is gonna be your wildest dreams, which is obviously not the most realistic representation of life. So it's really interesting that you've kind of focused on that, the kind of the more of the journey, and accurately giving people a sense of what the industry is like. Obviously there's a musical playlist that goes with the book, and you can see it on the front page. I'm really interested to know, like, did you write the songs just for the book? Did they come before the book? Like, how did that work? Were they always going to be part of the book?
So there was one song on the track list, which is a song called Didn't I, which is actually a song that Ellie and I wrote way before we had the idea for the book. And it's probably one of both of our favourite songs that we've ever written. It's like a big ballad moment. So that was one that we actually did write into the storyline, and we wanted to kind of create a story within the characters where it would fit, because we loved it so much. We wanted it to be part of the story. But for most of the rest of them, we did write them from scratch, or we had like the vague idea of how we wanted it to go, and sometimes we did sort of tweak the scenes to kind of fit the songs more, but more or less we wrote the story first and the songs came second.
Yeah. And how is it, like, I feel like it's really would be difficult to like weave them in. Did you find like your musical background and your over like the concept as a whole made it maybe a little bit easier to make sure that the songs did fit in with the plot and the book?
Yeah, I think so. So with songwriting, we often get briefs from companies. So there might be maybe some pop singer in Germany who is looking for a song that sounds like Taylor Swift, and they want the lyrics to sound like blah, blah, blah. And so we're used to very much writing to brief. And that's something that we do all the time, like being songwriters. So it was almost like we were setting ourselves our own briefs. But I think because we had so many characters that were musical, there were so many moments where it made sense to have a song. Like we wanted to have Casper's big single. We knew the girls were going to get together and write a song, and that would be their first writing session. and we knew there was going to be a big emotional song at the end, and there was these points where we knew emotionally where we wanted the song to go, but maybe we didn't quite have the lyrics yet or the concept, and then as we were writing the story it kind of became clear. So it didn't feel difficult where to fit in the songs, but maybe lyrically it was harder until we had more of the story.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. That makes total sense. So you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe some of the kind of romance tropes are flipped a little bit on their head in your book, in that the kind of we have a girl serenading a boy, rather than, obviously usually in books and movies and media in general, the serenading of, especially in the music scene, seems to be the guy serenading the girl. It makes me think of the Romeo and Juliet, like from the window to the balcony kind of thing. What was kind of the reasoning behind that? Was that something that you'd always kind of wanted to explore, that kind of like flip of traditional tropes?
I think that actually that was the spark for the whole book concept, was that, because I was in Waterstones and I was looking at other books, and I found a particular YA book which was very much about the boy bands and the girls being the groupies, and I was reading it, and because I saw the music theme, I thought, oh, let's have a look and see what music theme books are out. And I thought, oh, it's always the boys serenading the girls are always the groupies. Why is it never the girl serenading the boy? Because when I was a teenager, I was very much the girl serenading the boys at open mic night, singing my broken-hearted love songs and hoping that they would notice me. And it was definitely my teenage life. And I thought, I've never seen something that kind of has that, my experience in a book like this of my teenage years. And once I'd put this book down, I suddenly started thinking, well, what if there was this very arrogant guy? And what if the girl really was a singer? And suddenly all these characters started popping into my head. And by the time I'd walked home, like the main kind of concept and the main characters had kind of just fallen into my head. So it actually was like a very big thing on my mind when I started the initial concept for this to then bring to Ellie. That I wanted to have the girl being the one serenading and not just the groupie in the crowd, for a change.
Definitely. I think I mean I must admit I have no musical talent whatsoever, but when I was a teenager, when you like think of scenarios in my head, it was always like, it was never a guy coming up to me and singing, it was me thinking I can't sing, but me thinking like, oh, like I can imagine this scenario where it's like me serenading them and then realizing how incredible I am. So the fact that like that is in a book is like,
I love that was your teenage fantasy.
I do look back at my teen years and go, but you were fully aware you had no musical talent and you couldn't sing. You wouldn't have been able to string a song together. But my brain was like, this is how it's gonna happen. You're gonna sing a song from the heart. Apparently I would have just needed to like stand in front of a mic or a hairbrush and like it would have flowed from me. So yeah, it's really nice to know that there's like a book that exists now that kind of features much more musically talented people than me, but that I can, pretend is me.
No, I'm sure you're cracking on karaoke.
Strangled Cat is probably what people I do a very good broken violin sound. Yeah, music's, it's always been one of those things that like I've imagined in my brain that I'm good at, but I am much better at drawing, and that is where my strengths lie. So you would have thought I'd have imagined like doing some incredible art piece and handing it over and that being me, but now songing, I think it was just the songs that I listened to when I was like that age.
You kind of go to see the music video in your head, don't you, when you're listening to songs you really connect to and you're like, it's me.
Yeah, it was definitely that kind of thing, like because when I was younger, music videos were they were such a big thing, because Spotify and things didn't exist, so it was it was the music channels on Sky that connected with.
I was exactly the same.
So if you could get your readers to take one thing away from reading your book, what would you like hope it would be?
I hope that it would make them feel confident and feel like it doesn't really matter, who you are, what you look like. If you're passionate and you love what you do, um, and you've got drive and you work hard, then you really can do anything. One of our characters, so Meg is our main character, but the other character, Alana, is like a plus size singer songwriter, very much inspired by my own experience of being a plus size singer songwriter out on the open mic night scene from when I was a teenager. And it's something that I guess has always been a struggle for me because of the way the media is, it's very image obsessed, and yet it's also something that hasn't held me back from doing music in my life and being a songwriter. And I guess I just wanted to bring that confidence to other people, whilst sort of not in a Disney-fied sugar coated way, but in a way that feels real. So I hope that it will bring confidence to people and make them see that they can achieve their dreams, but it might just not be in the perfect X Factor way, but that doesn't mean they're not going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like a really important thing that like I wish I'd have known when I was a lot younger than I am now, that there are so many different ways that you can get to do what you most want to do, what you're most passionate about, and it's not always the prescribed or like super obvious route, whether it's like going on X Factor or going and getting that incredible internship that everyone talks about straight out of uni or things like that. There's a lot of ways to get to where you really want to be, and it's really nice knowing that there's books out there that kind of show that it's, you don't have to do ABC. There's like a million other routes you can take, and you
Even with
can get there.
music, you can be an amazing function band. Like I know so many people that, okay, they're not famous in the charts, but they're making a career doing the thing they love with people that they love in their band, and they're like the happiest, most successful people I know. And I think sometimes we're so caught up on it has to look a certain way and the dream has to be like this vision, that sometimes we can miss the dream that's happening right in front of us. So I guess it was like an element of that I wanted to try to like share.
Definitely. If you could round up your book in like 5 words, they can be 5 random words or 5 connected words. I love asking this question because it's so difficult. What would they be? How would you round up your book?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So first one has to be music, I think. um Heartwarming, hopefully. Funny. Cats, because there's a cat which plays a really big part in the book, and if there's a cat we have to say cat.
Yeah.
And hopeful.
Yeah. See, I always feel really cruel asking that question.
That's hard. Probably going to think, oh, I've had way better words as soon as I exit the chat.
Yeah, you'll be thinking later, like, oh, I could have said da 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 da. You'll come up with about 10 later, and you'll be like, they were all better.
Good
So
question.
before we go, is there any UK YA books that you think are brilliant that maybe you've read recently or have stuck with you from previous times of reading? That was a really weird way of asking.
I'm trying to think of some of the ones that I've read recently. So I recently read Gina Black's You Can Trust Me. I thought that was really great thriller. I really need to get into the back catalogue of Simon James Green, but I read the very first one, No, I Can't Even, and I was absolutely just hooting with laughter. It was so funny. And I know that he's had so many more, like that was the first one, he's had so many more books since then, so I'm trying to like catch up with him. One of my all-time favorite is Geek Girl, which is a little bit of an older title now, but yeah, just like an all-time classic.
It's a classic.
And Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging, I will always recommend it.
Another classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely good. I'm opposite to you with Simon James Green, so I've started with the latest one. So I've recently read Gay Club, and you are gonna love that
Oh my
book.
God, I'm so excited. I have it behind me on my shelf. I'm looking for any more inspiration of other ones that I've got. Oh,
It's such a brilliant book. I like.
And I've forgotten the author's name.
Which one?
Let me see. It's on my shelf. Sorry, I've disappeared out of shot. Natasha Devon. Toxic by Natasha Devon. Yeah. I've got that on my to read list, so I'm excited to read that one.
Thank you so much for talking to me and agreeing to be part of UK YA Author Week.